Good evening. Welcome to Atlantic Center for the Arts and Inside Out for Residency 154. Let's hear it for the artists. My name is Nancy Lowden-Norman. I'm co-executive director here at Atlantic Center. I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you to our members who are attending here tonight. Thank you to our Board of Trustees who support us in our programming that we do here. Thank you to our summer art camp instructors who come to Inside Out, Martha. Thank you most of all to the associates who take a risk and a chance by coming here for 3 weeks. It's been a really exciting time having you here. Jim and I were talking about the welcome supper and how you immediately, when you first came into the Commons, all broke into your groups and started working before we had even done introductions, and we knew that this was going to be a really special residency. I want to thank the master artist, Richard Blanco. Thank you for being here. Chris Theafinitis, thank you. Where are you? There you are. And Louis Gispert, thank you for your time and your dedication over the past 3 weeks. I just have a couple of announcements that I wanted to make. I wanted to tell you about a really great thing that happened for Atlantic Center. We received funding recently from the Sally Mead Hands Foundation to the tune of $40,000 a year for 3 years. I know. 10,000 of that goes towards associate scholarships every year, and 30,000 of it goes towards us keeping up our facility here. And for those of you who've spent time in our buildings, you know what an amazingly special place this is due to the architecture, due to the buildings, due to the integration of the architecture with the environment. So that's a really wonderful gift to have for the next 3 years, and we thank the Sally Mead Foundation for their support. I'd also like to take a minute to give a shout out to a couple staff people who are here. Nick Conroy. Nick, give a big wave back there, please. Nick. Nick celebrated his 20th year here at Atlantic Center for the Arts. So thank you, Nick, as our program and residency director. Thank you so much. Also, Greg Cole, our program assistant. Greg, thank you. I'd like to thank Catherine Peterson, our membership and marketing manager. Catherine, thank you. Adam Covert, who is our caretaker and helps with our facilities. Thank you, Adam. I'd like to recognize Heather Paternoster. She is our new special events coordinator, the first one who has been hired since me in 1996. So thank you, Heather. Heather's in the back there. And also Kelly Timmons, our new administrative assistant, who started yesterday. So thank you, Kelly. We really appreciate the work that you do as a team. I know the artists here appreciate all that you do as well. So just a quick thanks to the staff. So without further ado, we'll move on with our program. And I guess we're hearing from Chris first. Thank you, Chris.
Hi, everyone. Chris Theafinitis, and thank you, Nancy, and especially to the ACA staff who keep this place running in tip-top shape. I don't think it's a surprise to us that somebody who is inside the arts would keep it at this level, but when we got here on the first day, we found out that our residency director is a sculptor and our incredible chef is a visual artist, a composer, and a performing musician. We knew we were in good hands, and they really took care of us during this 3 weeks and allowed us to, as the sign outside the door here says, go expand our perimeters for this period that we were here. So we had a lot of fun in these 3 weeks and kind of, did a lot of different kinds of things, but unfortunately for this evening's event, it's rather impossible for us to present our work in progress because it usually requires something like 80 people to actually show. So you'll forgive us if we end up showing kind of different facets of our work, some very recent pieces in all of the cases, but in kind of different forms. So there'll be a couple of live solo performances here at the piano. There'll be recordings of orchestra that will be played back on audio file and some video along with that. In one case, we even have a demonstration of kind of composer process where we have some kind of MIDI files or computer files, the kind of first pass at an orchestra piece, for example, and then the actual realization of that so you can see what the transformation is like. And anyway, it's been a great pleasure to work with all these brilliant minds here, and I think we kind of goaded each other on, and I know that a lot of the friendships are going to continue beyond these walls, and thanks again to ACA.
My name is Liza White, and I'm going to perform a song for you for voice and piano, which is called Space. And it's a setting of a poem by David Ebenbach, who's a great poet that I met at a residency similar to this one. And in some ways, it's a work in progress in that it's one song in a larger set that I'm still working on of settings of poetry by living poets, most of whom I meet in places like this. And as Chris explained, we're sort of on our own here. It would usually be performed by two people other than me, but please bear with me and I hope you enjoy it. Space.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan Kuspa, and I'm going to present to you a work called Byzantine Fresco. It's something, many of my works are inspired by visual art, and since we have so many wonderful artists here, I thought I'd present one of them. In Houston, which is where I spent a large part of my childhood, there's an incredible museum collection of galleries called the Montiel Collection, and I've been inspired by them for many years. One of the more remarkable things that the Montiel Collection housed for many years was a fresco that had actually been stolen, looted by thieves from Cyprus. And when the Montiel Collection found out about it, they paid the ransom to the thieves, bought the fresco on behalf of the Church of Cyprus, restored them, and then housed them on long-term loan until 2 years ago they were repatriated. So while they were in Houston, they were housed in this very cool building. It was actually built by the Montiel's son, Francois de Montiel. And inside the building, oh, by the way, this is the church that they were originally from, tiny little place. And inside this outer building, they built a chapel out of glass to house these frescoes. And you can see the couple of benches there, incredibly contemplative, peaceful place. Here's another shot of that. It gives you a sense of the scale. It's very, very intimate. And I just loved this place. I loved going there and feeling that sense of spirituality there. This is a view looking down the nave of this tiny chapel. And here is the fresco in the dome. These have actually, like I said, 2 years ago, just been repatriated to Cyprus, so I believe they're now housed back on site. This is the piece that I wrote inspired by this. Byzantine Fresco.
Hi everyone, my name is Viet. I'm a composer here as well, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my creative process when I first start a piece to when it's finished. And the first step I always have in my pieces, which is different for every composer, but the first step I have is choosing a title or a concept for a piece. And for this piece, I was writing a guitar piece for my friend from college, who's an amazing guitarist, and we decided to go with the idea of an obsession for a piece because both of us kind of have obsessive personalities, and I thought it would work well. And the second step is always deciding what moods or general mood I want a piece to have, and I knew this one wanted to have a variety of moods, but I was deciding how to start the piece. So after I decide the mood for the beginning of a piece, I sit down at the piano and improvise and try to come up with music that portrays the mood that I want to evoke. And now with modern technology, I a lot of times will videotape with my iPhone, my hand playing the piano, so I don't have to write the notes down. So I can go back through and look at the videos and listen back and think, oh, this is good, this is really bad, and then I write things down. So I have a couple of videos that I've actually never showed anyone before because they're kind of embarrassing, but I figured why not. So I actually, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da idea became basically what the whole piece is obsessed about. I really wanted to have that frenetic, manic energy at the beginning of the piece, and so I have about a minute and a half of the beginning of the piece. Before we play the piece, I wanted to read you the program note I wrote for it. An obsession is much more than a fixation. Though it may be fixated on a single subject, an obsession is a remarkably complex, nuanced story with a number of emotional entrapments. Joy, devotion, pain, and embarrassment can all be induced, sometimes simultaneously, by a single obsession. Obsession, therefore, follows a journey through the compulsive, dangerous, passionate, and perhaps most importantly, the beautiful. Though energy levels shift through an array of moods, the piece always concentrates on a fervent, undulating pattern, and a withheld sense of intensity lingers below moments of surface-level beauty. An obsession's beauty is quite strange. Only in the midst of an obsession does beauty finally reveal its unhealthy allure. Similarly, the piece evaporates by the end. The undulating material remains intact, but only its essence is left. So you'll hear the first manic section of the piece.
Hello, my name is Harry Stafylakis. I'm going to play to you for you an excerpt from a very recent work of mine. Actually, it was just premiered 2 weeks before I arrived at the Atlantic Center for the Arts. It's for symphonic orchestra entitled Brittle Fracture, and this recording is of the premiere performance by the American Composers Orchestra, conducted by George Manahan.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Richard Blanco. I feel like a composer with this, I think. Seriously, it's a wonderful, thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you to all the staff, administrators, and everyone else that makes ACA happen, and especially if there are donors and supporters in the room, I'd like to thank you all very much. You know, it occurred to me as I was sitting here that, you know, these 3 weeks have flown by in a way, and what ACA and everyone that's involved may not realize that they really give us beyond these 3 weeks is a lifetime in some ways. It's not just it's not just a place to sit and work and a room to work and a place to hold conferences or whatnot, but it's really about also about this intangible thing that's intangible as art perhaps sometimes, and that is the idea of the friendships, the spiritual connections that we make that I think will last with us way beyond 3 weeks. And so for that, I also thank you, something that you might not be aware you're giving us. It is a beautiful gift. Thank you. What we decided to do today was something very experimental for me, and I'm not much of an experimentalist, but as they all know already, thanks to Celeste, we're doing something called Image Explosion, in which the associates actually picked a poem. I gave them a few poems. They picked a poem of mine, and they each took one of the lines and wrote their own poem. And so what we're going to do, it's a collaborative poem, sort of, but it's also a collaborative presentation. So I'm going to read the poem, and as the line that comes up that each one of them chose, they will come up and read the poem that they wrote off that line. And so hopefully there'll be something a little bit different. And luckily they chose one that was very thematically appropriate, which I'd love to read anytime I'm in a coastal town. And it's a very Florida poem. It's called Some Days the Sea. And it deals with, well, I think it's self-explanatory. I won't do that. I'm going into professorial mode here. Some days the sea. The sea is never the same twice. Today.
The sea is never the same twice. Gaza gathers its waves, ashamed of a dress so open, not sure where to bury 100 children, broken jaws and toys, ceilings falling on lovers like sleep, old pictures feeding flame. I don't know how to feel about you, Gaza. I cry in my sleep, wake up listless, tears falling inwards, wetting my heart. I think of my mother dying over and over again, shielding bombs from my face with her arms. The sea is never the same twice. Every day it gathers heavier ashes, new kinds of missiles and diapers. Did you know that tires don't float? And neither do bodies at the beginning of death. After the story gets old, they resurface like children after a crumbling game of hide and seek. I don't want to write more poems about you, Gaza. I don't want you singing in the street, ululating your martyrs, half of them born without dreams, wading through shit and bullets just to get bread. Gaza, I want you to know that dead people do not free countries.
The sea is never the same twice. Today, the waves open their lions' mouths, hungry.
The waves open their lions' mouths hungry, sighing and slapping their salt on rocks, spraying onto the jetty and in my face. 2 dolphins bob past, followed by another and another. They swim within a stone throw of their audience. Children, bathing in shallows, who point to them and cheer. On the south bank, I stop near a fat brown pelican slouching on a rock. He looks old and lazy, with sagging jowls. I hold out a hand. He unfurls and flies away. Without a fish to offer, I'm useless. Across the bridge on the north bank, I slip and stumble on rocks to buoys, crabbing over water, so clear I can see minnows 4 feet deep. In the horizon, the Indian River is swallowed in the salt of the sea.
The waves open their lions' mouths, hungry for the shore, and I feel the earth helpless. Some days their foamy edges are lace at my feet, the sea a sheet of green silk. Sometimes the shore brings souvenirs from a storm. I sift spoils of seagrass, find a broken finger of coral, a torn fan. Examine a sponge's hollow throat, watch a man-of-war die of sapphire in the sand. Some days, there's nothing but sand.
Some days, there's nothing but sand running through my fingers like money on the one hand or time on the other. Funny how sand grits your teeth when the wind blows it stinging into your face, blinding you. Or how a little spit of sand breaks waves, a sandbar far out beyond the surf, water moving, wavering, streaks of broken, reflected light, foam, choppy, rough.
Some days, there's nothing but sand that is not quiet, that moves like a sea storm, that gusts with high wind and creates storm alerts on Interstate 10 in southern Arizona. Some storms gathering without warning, and later the meteorologist admitting it came too fast, as it did when the Allies stormed Europe, Hitler pushed back, and so it was Fritz, my German uncle, 18, who was pulled from naval duty, handsome in his sailor suit, smiling, dark, kind eyes. It was Fritz, pulled to the front line in France, where sand and earth took him in quickly until 1960. There, in Andilly, France, the government finding those boys, combing the field where they fell, gray sea of unmarked graves. Then my Oma, Anna Carolina, got the letter, "Come, we have found your sons." They went, and Teresa, the sister of Fritz, took white roses. She took black and white pictures. She did this so we would not forget.
Some days there's nothing but sand, quiet as snow. I walk eyes on the wind, sometimes laden with silver-tasting salt.
Sometimes laden with silver-tasting salt, sometimes smashed with the elegant S of a masher, or crisped over parchment skin in the oven. My mother dreamt of potatoes when I was inside of her. She burnt her fingers on crimped straws straight from the fryer, sopping their tips in a puddle of ketchup. Russet, red bliss, jewel yam, Yukon gold, fingerling, purple Viking, names as numerous as options offered up by the baby name Bible, which sat sealed in wrapper under the bed until after my birth. My mother knew what she wanted. A girl with a name like the sky, she said. A woman who knows the pleasure of French fries.
sometimes laden with silver tasting salt. I imagine his hands stroking my right thigh, air thinning until I hear the sea speak. If not for love, what are you for? See how we return to this embrace, salted with shame but clinging to the right to speak a language of timeless rights. I can't keep the river from the sea. That river still flows, searching for salt. Assaulted by dreams, I seek him as my right.
Sometimes laden with silver tasting salt, sometimes still as the sun. Some days the sun is a dollop of honey and raining light on the sea, glinting diamond dust. Sometimes there are only clouds, clouds.
Sometimes there are only clouds, clouds. But today, in the sea of my country, barefoot boys swing from the vines of the banyans, then lickety-split, tumble to the ground. Bel Airs of 1956, Impalas of 59, roller coast deep the tunnel of Havana, then sputter back up to El Sol del Malecón, ripples of blue expanse of ocean like tiny kisses on puckered lips. The seawall pulsing with the hot rhythms of Havana, simultaneously lulling, invigorating me with wind and salt.
Sometimes there are only clouds, clouds. Sometimes drifting as consonants, drifting across the sky. Other times wispy white roses that swirl into tigers, that swirl into cathedrals, that swirl into hands. And I remember, some days, I am still a boy on this beach, wanting to catch a seagull, cup a tiny silver fish in my hand, build a perfect sandcastle. Some days I am a teenager, blind to death, even as I watch waves seep into nothingness.
I watch waves seep into nothingness. My lynch braids swing in the breeze, coil around my throat. Woolly pieces of hair woven tight like strands of DNA, reminding me of those who came before me, those who sang bruised blues, looked into an emerald sea, longed for home.
Most days, I'm a man tired of being a man, sleeping in the care of dusk's slanted light, or a man scared of being a man, seeing some god in the moonlight streaming over the sea. Some days I imagine myself walking this shore with feet as worn as driftwood, old and afraid of my body. Someday, I suppose I'll return someplace like waves trickling through the sand back to the sea without any memory of being. But, if I could choose my eternity, it would be here, aging with the moon, enduring in the space between every grain of sand and in the cusp of every wave and every seashell's hollow.
Hi, my name's Christopher Douthitt, and I'm from Oakland, California. And the piece that I'm going to play you is actually
could be seen as a musical response to the poem we just heard, because it was sort of inspired by the first time I went to Ocean Beach, San Francisco, and it is a very, very loose and abstract interpretation of the typical frequencies of the surf and birds that you would hear on a beach. So it's sort of appropriate to Florida as well. It's called Beachcomb Filter, and it's for computer electronics. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juri Saul. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to share with you one of my recent piano pieces. So back in college, I used to give piano lessons to these young kids. So when you first start, you play something like this with your right hand. And then once they can play this reasonably well, then you add the left hand and you try to play something like this. And this turns out to be really, really challenging for the kids. So they can't quite play them together. They will play like, and then they might play some wrong notes like this. And when they try to play chords, they would not be able to play them at the same time. With some wrong notes. So that's basically the inspiration for this piece. So it's just some kind of glorified version of this clumsiness and mistakes and wrong notes. So there are 3 movements, and I'm going to play the first 2.
Hi, I'm Jessica Rudman. I'm another one of the composers here. I'm also going to talk a little bit about how I compose, but I'm going to talk about it in relation to a work that is in progress. So this is what I've been working on while I've been here at ACA. The initial seed for a piece can come from many different places. I always keep a sketchbook with me. It's a little tiny black book. So that way I can write ideas down whenever they might come into my head. These ideas can take the form of musical notation, so melodies, chords, rhythms, or it could be text descriptions of an idea for a piece, lines of poetry that inspire me, or even sort of doodles that somehow represent some kind of a musical idea. Whenever I start a new composition, I look back through this sketchbook to find anything I have that might fit this new project. Pieces that are commissioned for particular performances generally have some specific requirements, such as length, which instruments to use, what type of event the piece is for, and so on. And these different factors can all influence the character of a piece. So once I find some ideas that fit with these requirements, I usually follow a pattern of adding music one day and then the next day revisiting that and revising it and shaping it and then adding more and going back and revising and then adding more and so on. And when the piece is fully notated and finished, then I give the music to performers who bring it to life. Composers generally use some kind of a notation software to create the sheet music that the players actually perform from. These programs also have the benefit, or debatable benefit, of being able to play back the music using virtual instruments. So this allows a listener to get a general idea of what the music sounds like before it's actually performed. So this makes it a lot easier to share work in progress. You can see up there a screenshot of the software that I use and the piece that I'm going to play a little bit for you. So while I've been here, I've been working on an orchestra piece. I've got about 6 minutes right now, but I'm just going to play you the first minute as it sounds through my notation program's playback feature. I'll also be projecting the pages of the score, although it's a little hard to see. It's very small because it's a large piece, but you can get a sort of sense of what the printed music would look like. There is, of course, a very large difference between what the computer plays back and a live performance. The notation software is pretty good for playing back pitches and rhythms, but the instrumental sounds are not super realistic, and the playback also lacks emotional expression, as a computer cannot convincingly add the nuances that a live player would. So I'm just going to demonstrate this really quickly using an older orchestra piece of mine called Twisted Blue. So here's the beginning of that piece as performed by my laptop this morning. So that just gives you a little taste. Now here's that same music performed by an actual orchestra. So you can hear that the live version sounds richer and much more interesting, even though both are using the same notes and the same rhythms. So a lot of a composer's training is focused on developing our imagination or our inner ear so that we can make the leap from the sounds that we hear in our heads and the sounds that we hear played back by the computer to those that are eventually realized in performance. And that ability to translate these sounds is what allows us to get our music out to audiences like you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eun-young Lee, but everybody calls me just Young. I'm going to share today Bald Eagle Mountain. This piece has 3 poems. I use 3 poems, and we're going to listen to third poem. The text is by Korean Buddhist monk. He was a 12th century Korean Buddhist monk. It was translated into English by Ian Heiske. This is dedicated to my sister, Eun-hee Lee. And along with this music, I would like to share photos of Lake Michigan. The reason is that the Bald Eagle Mountain is also inspired by my sister. Sometimes I'm not sure if she's really my sister. She's so wonderful and amazing. I wanted she can stay in good health, and that's why it's a very meaningful piece for me. And then the reason I went to Lake Michigan every day from August 24th to until January 13 this year, I missed maybe 2 days, except I maybe I had a travel. It was also my sister that she just pushed me that, yeah, I'd like to see this one. And these photos, and along with this Bald Eagle Mountain, was installed in Kirkland Center for the Arts. So I feel like this is 2 pieces seems like a sister piece. So. Thank you very much. I forgot to mention about this. The second reason is that a common ground between photography and music, I believe, is capture the moment in time, maybe in very different way. So that's why I think we both are not only composers but visual artists and poets are here. And thank you.
Hey everyone. Well, it's almost over. Well, thanks for coming out. No, but I wanted to thank really everybody, ACA, but also all of the artists that participated. And Richard hit it right on the head when he said that what happens here is going to radiate for a long time outside of this. And, well, I represent the visual art group, so all our stuff is outside of the theater. So after here, we're all going to go and check out the studio. And I wanted to thank the fellows in particular for such a dynamic, great, well, a talented group of people in all mediums: photography, video, installation, painting, sculpture, which you all see tonight. And there will be a video also screening here. But I wanted to take also an opportunity to invite them to come up and introduce themselves, say hi, because they're going to be seen outside of the building. So you guys can come up and say hi.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ramon Vega. I'm one of the visual artists. Obviously, I'm up here. Yeah, we're thrilled that everyone's here, and it's gonna. Thanks to ACA for hosting us for 3 weeks. I mean, it's been really an incredible experience in so many levels that I think it's gonna take a couple of weeks to sort of digest. But it's been really wonderful to be here and meet such inspiring musicians, composers, poets. I mean, it's a different way for me of working. So it's been really quite inspiring, and I'll take that with me. Thank you.
Hey, Chris Watts, painter, video filmmaker. And for the sake of us repeating everything, thank you so much. And I will speed this along.
Jeremy Olson, and I'm making paintings here, and also just want to thank ACA for everything.
I'm Alma, and I wanted to thank ACA once more for having us here. I was here 2 years ago, and like always, it's always a great experience with the staff and the residents, and just to share all this creative process. And coming together is it's an amazing experience, basically. I do installation and photography, so you guys are gonna see what I've been working on while I stay here. Thank you.
I'm Yala Ford, and I want to thank Lewis and ACA for supporting us. And this was an incredible journey for all of us, and it was great. All of us are now family. I got to get on a biplane with some of the composers and his wife, and it was just overwhelming. Thank you for all the support, and you'll see my installation that I was able to grow from my painting into a much bigger form. So thank you.
I'm Lyndon Borwa. And also I'll echo thank yous, mostly to Lewis actually, because he's the one who brought us all here. And it has truly been an honor to be able to spend so much time with all three groups. It's been a blast. I'm not quite ready to go, but whatever.
Hi everyone, I'm Agnes Bolt. I wanted to also thank everybody here. I feel like I'm going to cry probably very hard at the end of this residency because I met some amazing new friends and inspiring collaborators and colleagues. And I'm going to be showing video here in this room only, so you'll probably see me roving around in there, but my stuff will be on a loop here along with a video that Chris made as well. Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, it's Stephanie Powell. Oh, it's okay.
My name is Stephanie Powell. It's really been an incredible 3 weeks. Some of the best memories with these guys. I'll never forget. So thank you for everything.
I want to take an opportunity to invite all of the fellows just to come up and just say hi to the audience as a group. All of it, yeah. And the master artist, everybody.